Welcome back. Before we begin, I want you to listen closely. This story isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It starts with one message, one decision, and the kind of silence that changes everything. I was halfway through my morning when it happened. Not even fully awake yet. Coffee in my hand, phone on the counter, the kind of morning where nothing bad is supposed to fit. Then the phone buzzed. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comment section what time it is where you're watching from. This helps me know how far my story goes. Now, let's get back to the story. I didn't rush. I almost ignored it. Honestly, I thought it was junk. A reminder, something I could deal with later. It was my daughter. No hello. No warm-up. Just a line of text sitting there like it had been waiting for the right moment to hurt. Don't call me again. I'm busy with my life. That was it. I read it once, then again. I waited for my chest to explode. Yum. For anger to show up and give me something solid to stand on. It didn't. What I felt was thinner than that, like the floor had dropped an inch and my body hadn't caught up yet. My first thought wasn't rage. It was confusion. Actual stupid confusion. I wondered if I'd opened the wrong message, if there was more coming. If this was some kind of mistake. I typed a reply, deleted it, typed another, deleted that, too. The screen stayed bright, quiet, unapologetic. My name is Evelyn Carter, 68 years old. I live in Savannah. I've lived here long enough to know the mornings by heart. I know what should feel normal. This didn't. I sat down because my legs felt unreliable. I stared at the message like it might explain itself if I gave it time. It didn't soften. It didn't change. What broke me wasn't the sentence. It was how final it sounded. Like a door already closed before I reached it. I didn't answer. Not then. I set the phone face down and told myself I'd think first. That I'd be calm. That I'd figure out what I'd done wrong. And that's where everything really began. This story is a fictional work inspired by real experiences created by the Her Trust channel to explore family emotions and human values. The characters and events are used solely for storytelling. I read the message again slow this time, like if I paced it differently, it might say something else. It didn't. I read it standing up then sitting then with my glasses on. Even though I didn't need them. Same sentence, same weight. Don't call me again. I'm busy with my life. Busy with my life. I said it out loud once. Quiet. Just to hear how it sounded in the room. It sounded like I'd overstayed my welcome somewhere I thought I belonged. I kept thinking about when it changed, when I stopped being help and started being noise. After the divorce, it was just me and her. No backup plan, no extra income. I worked days, picked up shifts at night, came home exhausted, and still asked about homework. I remember apologizing to her for things that weren't my fault. Being tired, being late, being human. She used to call me for everything. Flat tire, bad date, bad dream. I was the first number always. Now I was the problem. My phone was in my hand before I realized it. Thumb hovering. I wanted to call. I wanted to say I didn't mean to bother her. That I could give her space. That I just wanted to know she was okay. Listen to that. I wanted to apologize for existing. I started dialing. Stopped. I imagined her face when she saw my name pop up. The sigh. The eye roll, the way she might say, I told you not to. That stopped me. I wasn't angry yet. I was embarrassed, like I'd shown up somewhere uninvited and only realized it after everyone went quiet. I put the phone down again, and for the first time, I wondered if love had slowly turned into something I was chasing instead of something I was part of. At what point does love quietly turn into something you have to beg for? I told myself I was being mature. That was the word I used. Mature, calm, reasonable. All the words that sound good when you don't want to admit you're scared. I didn't answer her. Not that morning. Not that afternoon. I left the phone on the table like it was something fragile, like touching it again might crack whatever thin layer was holding me together. Every time I walked past it, my body leaned toward it on instinct. Muscle memory. Years of responding fast, being available, being ready. I kept hearing my own voice in my head, rehearsing lines I never said. I didn't mean to bother you. I just wanted to check in. I'll stop calling. I promise. None of those were messages. They were apologies. And I hated that about myself. At one point, I picked up the phone and unlocked it. Just stared at her name. I thought about how easy it would be to fix this. One call, one soft voice, one step back into the place I'd always stood. But then I pictured her reading my reply. The pause, the annoyance, the sense that she'd won something by pushing me away first. That's when it hit me. Being ignored hurts. It makes you doubt yourself. But being dismissed, that's different. That's someone deciding you don't get a voice at all. I set the phone back down, face down this time like I didn't want it looking at me. Hours passed. The day moved on without my permission. I ate something without tasting it. I answered a call from a telemarketer just to hear a human voice. Hung up halfway through. By evening, the silence didn't feel peaceful. It felt frozen, like everything was paused, waiting for me to move, and I still didn't. Is silence a form of strength or just fear dressed up as calm? I didn't plan it. That's the truth. I picked up my phone because it was there. Because it had been staring at me all morning like it wanted something, like it expected me to flinch. I opened her contact, her name, the old photo I never updated. I hesitated longer than I should have. My thumb hovered. I swear it felt heavier than it is. I told myself, this isn't punishment. I told myself, this is a pause. I pressed delete. The phone made a small sound. Barely anything. No warning, no drama, just gone. I waited for the wave at the tears, the relief. Something big. Nothing happened. My chest stayed tight. My throat stayed dry. It felt unfinished, like I'd closed a door but left the lights on inside. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring at the empty spot where her name used to be. I thought about how ridiculous it is that one tap can change how reachable someone is. How suddenly there's no easy way back. This wasn't about teaching her a lesson. I wasn't trying to scare her. I wasn't trying to win. I was trying to stop myself. Stop the reaching. Stop the explaining. Stop the part of me that bends automatically when someone pulls away. I've done that my whole life. Bent. Smoothed things over. Took the blame just to keep the peace. I put the phone down and felt the room close in. Quiet, but not the good kind. The kind that echoes. The kind that makes you realize how many of your thoughts were aimed at someone else. I wanted to call someone, anyone, just to say out loud what I'd done. But there wasn't anyone who wouldn't turn it into advice or judgment. So, I sat with it. Deleting the number didn't erase my daughter. It erased my reflex to chase her. And that scared me more than I expected. The loneliness hit fast, sharp, like I'd cut something loose, and only then felt the pull disappear. Can setting a boundary ever feel like grief days past? Not dramatically, just one sliding into the next. No calls, no texts, nothing I had to ignore or resist. Just absence doing its thing. I went to the market because I always do. Same place, same hour. Habit is hard to kill. I was reaching for apples when Mrs. Patterson from 2 houses down stopped beside me. She smiled like she always does. Friendly, curious. Haven't seen your daughter around lately, she said. Then almost casually. You used to help her so much. Used to? I nodded. Didn't trust my mouth yet. Mrs. Patterson kept going. My niece says you were always bailing her out. That's what kids do now, I guess. Take advantage without meaning to. She laughed. Not cruel, just careless. I paid for my groceries and walked out with that sentence stuck to me. Always bailing her out. That wasn't how I remembered it. I remembered helping, supporting, being there. But on the drive home, other moments lined up. Conversations that ended too fast. Jokes that landed wrong. The way people looked at me when her name came up, like they already knew something I didn't. I replayed a call from months ago. Her voice sharp. Why do you always ask so many questions? I'd laughed it off. Said I was just being a mom. Maybe I wasn't a mom to her anymore. Maybe I was an obstacle she had to explain away. That thought sat heavy. At home, I went through old papers looking for something else and found records of money I'd sent her. Not small amounts. Help I'd given without conditions, without follow-up. I remembered telling myself it was temporary, that things would even out. What if they never had? The silence wasn't peaceful yet, but it was honest. It was showing me gaps I'd filled with excuses for years. And for the first time, the story I told myself that I did my best and everything else was just life started to crack. Have you ever realized too late that people had already rewritten your role in their story? Once I started looking, I couldn't stop. I sat at the table with a stack of old papers I'd never organized because I didn't want to see them all together. Transfers, notes, little reminders I'd written to myself. Pay her back later. I used to joke as if I was the one borrowing. I remembered the calls. Always urgent. Mom, I'm short this month. Mom, something came up. Mom, I'll explain later. I swear. Later never came. What did come was silence, days, sometimes weeks, then a cheerful check-in like nothing happened. I told myself she was busy, that life was hard, that love means not keeping score. That was my favorite excuse. Don't keep score. It made me feel generous instead of foolish. I replayed one call in my head, her voice tight. I just needed this once. I'd asked how much. Enough. I sent it anyway. $2,000. No discussion, no receipt, no follow-up. After that, nothing, not even a thank you. I remember staring at my phone, thinking it must be broken. I told myself affection didn't need acknowledgement. I told myself she showed love in other ways. I told myself a lot of things. The truth started forming slowly, like a bruise. She wasn't close to me because she wanted to be. She was close because I was available. Because I answered, because I fixed things. Access, not affection. That thought landed hard. I said it out loud once. Quiet. Like testing a word you're not ready to own. I thought about how careful she was when she needed something. How distant when she didn't. How quickly warmth turned into irritation the moment I asked a question. Love doesn't vanish overnight. It erodus, and I'd been calling erosion patience. I leaned back in my chair and felt something settle in me. Not anger. Not yet, just clarity. The kind that makes you tired because it means you can't unsee what you've seen. I realized I hadn't lost her recently. I'd been losing her in installments. Where's the line between helping someone and being used by them? I didn't announce anything. No speeches. No phone calls where I explained myself. I just started changing things. First, money. Quietly, I went through my accounts and stopped the automatic transfers I'd set up years ago, just in case. That phrase had carried me a long way. I told myself it was temporary back then. Funny how temporary can last decades if no one questions it. I expected guilt to hit harder. It did show up, but softer than I thought. Like it was tired, too. Next, my routines. I stopped planning my days around the idea that she might call. I cooked smaller meals. I went to bed when I was tired. Instead of staying up with my phone nearby, volume turned up. Just in case. I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. When a friend asked why I seemed different, I said, I'm just slowing down. That was true enough. The hardest part was letting go of the voice in my head that said, good mother's sacrifice without limits. That voice sounded like mine, which made it harder to argue with. I remembered all the times I'd swallowed frustration because I didn't want to be that kind of mother, the clingy one, the difficult one, the one who asked for too much. Somewhere along the line, being a mother turned into disappearing politely. I sat at the table one night and said it out loud just to see if the room would collapse. Motherhood doesn't mean erasing yourself. Nothing happened. The walls stayed up. The world didn't end. I felt strange after that. Lighter, but also exposed. Like I'd stepped out of a role I'd worn so long I forgot it was a costume. I wasn't cured. I wasn't brave. I was just done pretending that love required me to keep shrinking. And for the first time in a long while, that felt like something I could stand on. Is it ever too late to choose yourself for the first time? The knock came early. Too early, to be polite. 3 knocks. Not loud, not confident either, like whoever it was already knew they might not be welcome. I stood there for a second, barefoot, listening. My heart sped up, but my hands didn't shake. That surprised me. A week ago, I would have panicked. Now I just breathed. I opened the door. It was her. My daughter stood on the porch, with her shoulders pulled in, hair unbrushed. eyes rimmed red, like sleep hadn't worked. She looked smaller than I remembered, not weak, just worn down. "Mom," she said. Just that, no apology, no anger. The word hung between us like a test. I stepped aside. "Come in." She walked past me without touching me. That hurt more than I expected. She hovered near the doorway, like she might bolt. Then she turned around. "I didn't know if you'd answer," she said.
"I heard you knock," I said.
My voice sounded steady. I noticed that right away. She glanced at the table, the chair. Everything familiar, but slightly off, like she'd stepped into a version of my life that kept going without her. "You didn't call," she said. "You told me not to," I replied. That landed. I saw it in her face. A flicker of something like regret, or maybe inconvenience. Hard to tell. She rubbed her hands together.
"I've been dealing with a lot."
I nodded. Didn't fill the silence for her.
That was new for me.
She waited. I didn't rush in with comfort. Didn't soften the moment. I stayed where I was, calm in a way that felt almost unnatural. The power had shifted. Not because I planned it, because I'd stopped chasing. She finally looked at me. Really looked like she was trying to figure out who I was now. And for the first time since that message, I wasn't afraid of what she might say next. When someone who rejected you suddenly returns, do you owe them anything? She sat finally edge of the chair like she didn't plan to stay. "I messed up," she said fast, like ripping off a bandage. "Things got bad." I waited. She kept going. "I told people I had money coming. I didn't. I thought I could fix it before anyone noticed." She looked at the floor. "I didn't." "How much?" I said. She hesitated. "More than I should have promised." "That's not a number." She swallowed. "About $30,000. I nodded. I didn't react. That seemed to bother her more than yelling would have. "I was going to tell you," she added. "I just needed time." "You had time," I said. "You used it to tell me not to call." Her jaw tightened. I was overwhelmed. I was erased. Silence stretched. She tried again. "Why didn't you say anything? You could have called. You always call." I stayed silent because every time I speak, I make it easier for you to pretend nothing happened. I said, "Silence was the only way to stop fixing things for you." She shook her head. "That feels like punishment." "It's not." I said, "It's a boundary." She leaned forward. "I need help." "I know." I said, "I just won't be the kind that disappears me." Her eyes filled. "So that's it?" "No," I said, "this is it." "I won't send money. I won't lie for you. I won't be your emergency plan." I kept my voice even. "I'll listen. I'll care, but I won't rescue." She stared at me like she was recalculating. Like the rules had changed mid-aim.
"You're different," she said.
I stopped negotiating my place. I replied. She stood slow. "I don't know if I can do this without you."
"You already did," I said. "Just not honestly." She didn't argue.
That told me everything. She left without slamming the door, without asking again. The room felt quieter after. Not empty, just settled. I sat there a long time, breathing like I'd finished something hard. Not victorious.
Clear.
Is forgiveness still meaningful if nothing changes afterward? She stood by the door for a moment like she wanted to say something else. Her mouth open-closed. Then she nodded once.
"I'll figure it out," she said.
Not strong, not confident, just honest. "I hope you do," I said. She waited for me to add something. A promise, a backup plan. I didn't. She walked out. No hug, no slam, just footsteps fading down the porch. That felt right. Unfinished but real. When the door closed, I didn't rush to fill the space. I stayed where I was, hands loose at my sides, breathing normal. That surprised me more than anything. I expected guilt. I expected panic. I expected to crumble the second she left. Instead, I felt lighter. Not happy, not relieved, just lighter. Like I'd been carrying something heavy for years and finally set it down without ceremony. I made coffee, forgot about it halfway through, let it go cold, sat at the table, and stared at nothing in particular. Silence didn't ruin my relationship with my daughter. It exposed it. It stripped away the excuses, the habits, the automatic fixing. It showed me where I ended and where she began that matters. I'm not cutting her off from love. I can live with uncertainty. What I couldn't live with anymore was abandoning myself to keep someone else comfortable. If this story touched something in you, say so. Share it.
Talk about it.
We don't talk enough about the quiet choices, the ones that don't look brave but change everything. Anyway, I'm still here.